Hi, everybody, and welcome to another installment of PlaidStallions Toy Ventures. We're going to look at another series of knockoffs this week. I'm very into knockoff action figures, if you haven't already noticed. And this one comes from the UK, and it is a line called Thrill Seekers by Lincoln International Toys. And to be perfectly honest with you, I've been kind of hesitant to do this episode because I really don't want to turn more people onto Thrill Seekers until I finish my set, but I think the genie's out of the bottle and there's no way of going back anyways. You have to start with Mego's Action Jackson when you're talking about a lot of these lines. It was the first 8-inch action figure on the scene, and it followed the example of Big Jim and G.I. Joe in that is what is called a razors and razor blade concept. The figure is the razor, and the outfits and accessories and adventures are the razor blades. And this was very common in the 1960s and 70s. In fact, Action Jackson was kind of one of the last hurrah for this concept. Action Jackson sold very well for 1 year, but a limit on TV advertising kind of killed its sales. And by 1974, Mego was selling so many Planet of the Apes and World's Greatest Superheroes toys, they kind of phased Action Jackson out. And that left a lot of opportunity for lesser toy companies. While the sales weren't good enough for Mego, there was still demand for this product, and there was still tooling and outfits. And I'll get into this in later episodes where people just outright were using Action Jackson parts and pieces and selling them under new brands in the mid-1970s. Lincoln International was never really an innovator. They were always sort of copying other people's success, most notably their series of monsters, which are absolutely aping the Azrak Hamway characters. And they even went so far as to rip off Mr. Spock with Mr. Rock, which we've done an earlier episode of. So it's not surprising that they decided to copy their own Adventure Man series as well. Rather than trying to sell a figure and outfits, they just sold 4 concepts. This is the same figure in 4 different outfits. They include Scuba Diver, Race Car Driver, Racing Motorcyclist, who looks an awful lot like a certain Daredevil from around the mid-70s, can't remember his name, and a Skydiver. I want to point out there's something kind of hilarious about all of this because the Skydiver doesn't come with a parachute to my knowledge. The motorcyclist definitely doesn't come with a motorcycle. And the race car driver comes with no such car. I'm assuming the scuba diver comes with a scuba tank. I've never seen it. One of the more interesting things about the Lincoln International Thrill Seekers is they're using Mego tooling. The boots are definitely from Action Jackson, as are the helmets. They've been repainted somewhere, but each of them still says Mego on the inside. So this is obviously a case where a factory that Mego hired, possibly the one in this ad from a Hong Kong trade publication, merely just used Mego's tooling for other toy lines, probably not with their consent. This went on an awful lot, and there's a lot of belief that, the Azrak Hamway monsters continued without anyone's knowledge at Universal or AHI. This is the world of the knockoff toy. The Thrill Seekers share the same bodies as the Lincoln International monsters and Mr. Rock, of course, and as far as I know, it is the same figure in just 4 different outfits. One of the more curious things about the packaging, which is quite deluxe, Lincoln usually did carded figures, but they did these in these deluxe flat boxes that I've never seen any other figures buy them before. And the font, that's a monster font for Thrill Seekers. It's really odd. It seems very slapdash. It's the same kind of artwork that they used for the monster boxes. I think they used the same artist. It's got a crude but appealing sensibility to it, and I'm quite fond of it. On the secondary market, these are very rare. I found these 2. I missed out on a 3rd one in an auction, and I'm still kind of sore about that. It's just one of those things. They don't come up very often. They're very rare. You may be able to find some of them in lots where the people don't know what they are, and I do keep an eye out on that, but I think I've missed a couple. Thrill Seekers are one of those things that must have been produced in very small quantities, and there isn't a huge collector market for it. It's mostly Action Jackson guys like myself looking for these. As an aside, because I don't think I can do a whole episode on him, Lincoln International did yet another Action Jackson ripoff in the form of Big Bill. Now, there's only been one boxed Big Bill sighting, and he comes with a whole bunch of accessories. It appears to be a mailer box that just says Big Bill on it. I've seen it once. I don't know what catalog that's been featured in. I would really like to know. It's possible Spiegel or something like that, but I've never been able to track it down. If you guys know where Big Bill originated from, please let me know. This is just one of many Action Jackson knockoffs I collect, and in the coming weeks I'm going to go through them all and give you a detailed history of everything I know. We have started a new Facebook group. It is called Mego Knock-Off HQ, and it is just dedicated to vintage toys, an intimate discussion about them, and we're trying to share information and, well, learn more. If you'd like to join, I'll put the link below. That's all for this week. I'd love your feedback on this episode. You can hit me up on Twitter at PlaidStallions, or of course in our Facebook group PodStallions, which I'll put a link for below. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you're new to this, please consider hitting like and subscribe. Until next week, take care and have fun.